This research is conducted to determine whether or not internet regulation can be beneficial to the mass, while looking into governments that have little to no internet regulation, some regulation, and finally some extreme regulatory laws. The primary focus will be on the United States while looking at the internet regulations in other developed countries. Before the creation of the internet, there was multiple ways information was able to spread or be communicated. These methods included radio, television, satellite, and the most popular one, telecommunication. As these means of communication became more and more necessary in one's life, the United States government decided to create regulations as to avoid any monopolies or unfair treatment of the public. As a result, the Federal Communication Commission, or FCC, was established to enforce these rules. Some decades after that, the internet was born. Tim Berners-Lee used this technology to create the World Wide Web, in which people from around the world can share information and communicate or connect with others freely. Although the internet is decades old, issues with its regulations have only recently risen due to its increasing popularity and accessibility. So the real question is, are we better off with regulated internet? Or should we look past some of these arising issues since the positivity of internet freedom can outweigh the negativity? Being able to use the internet is now considered a person's right in some countries, and it's something that societies today need more than ever to communicate, work, or continue with their day-to-day lives. The internet is created as a way for anyone in the world to freely share and consume information, but as it got more innovative and accessible, people have found ways to abuse this technology. Some of these issues include cyberbullying, spreading false information, manipulation, illegal activity, and unfortunately, capitalistic greed. It is true that capitalism could cause competition, which, as a result, continues innovation, but that can be worrisome as this has the potential to create monopolies. Similar to the reasons the FCC created regulations for telecommunications in 1934, some internet service providers wanted to control what online content their customers could or couldn't access. This can lead to unfair treatment to those who may be less fortunate and cannot pay extra costs to visit certain websites that may be part of a different or more expensive internet tier plan. As a result, the Obama administration created net neutrality laws in 2015 to avoid limited access to information in a way that disproportionately affects vulnerable populations. There was some backlash to this as it may decrease innovation, but overall it was a useful law that allowed anyone with an internet connection to freely visit or say anything they want on the web. As more and more consumers begin using the internet, most, if not all, countries have started discussing regulations and rules for this technology. But unlike other communication fields like broadcast and telecommunication, the internet in the United States currently has much more freedom regarding what can or can't be said or done online. Research today has shown different results in different regions around the world, where some countries have laxer regulations than others. Europe, for example, has created regulations specifically for the privacy and security of internet users. Some places in Europe, like the United Kingdom, have even started to regulate the speech that the UK citizens may post online to avoid hate speech. Some may see this as a positive, as it may reduce cyberbullying and internet threats, but this can also feel like an infringement on their freedom of speech. We've already seen these hate speech laws taking effect in different European countries like Scotland and Germany over what someone said on the internet. While getting rid of hate speech may seem like a good idea in theory, it just doesn't seem like this law is ready yet, as most countries have not set any specific limitations on what's considered hate speech. Whereas countries like China has established the Great Firewall, which includes censorship to many non-Chinese websites or even sites that may criticize the government. This would ultimately be perceived as an infringement in online freedom of speech as well. Another example is the government of Ethiopia, who've created a social media army to keep control of what's being said by the Ethiopian citizens across different social media websites. This is only used under some circumstances, like when there was a nationwide test going on, and the social media army made sure people weren't cheating or getting the answers online. For this research, the textual analysis method was used by examining multiple research papers that discuss the positives and negatives of different policies and internet regulations in some countries. By doing so, I can find out the necessity of these regulations, and if so, to what level. Some regulation is acceptable for many as to avoid the pitfalls of the World Wide Web. Having some regulations like net neutrality or not having to worry about being surveilled continuously are just some laws that can be hugely beneficial to the users of the internet. It is when the government starts setting up restrictions directly to the citizen that it can begin feeling like an infringement on freedom of expression. In a research done by Meredith Schell regarding net neutrality in the U.S., she mentions that, in order to continue fostering innovation, we should not allow large companies to protect their interests in their partnerships and thus overshadow the right of the public to have free and open use of the World Wide Web. The internet was intended to be used freely so that people from all over the world can connect and share information. But due to the possibility of corporate greed, some internet regulation is necessary for it to keep being used as intended.